The United States 5-cent coin from 1958 may appear at first glance to be a simple Jefferson nickel, the kind of coin millions of Americans have handled over the decades without much thought. But in the world of coin collecting, the 1958 nickel has a reputation that makes it stand out among its peers. It was minted in large numbers at the Philadelphia Mint and at the Denver Mint, bearing the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. For the average spender, it is just another nickel. But for collectors, it holds a deeper story of rarity, value, and historical significance. High-grade examples of this coin, and particularly rare varieties, have sold at auctions for staggering amounts. In fact, some of the most exceptional pieces from 1958 have been valued anywhere from $65,000 to an astonishing $138,000. Numbers that transform what was once a 5-cent piece into a life-changing treasure. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The obverse design by Felix Schlag featured a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, while the reverse showed Monticello, his Virginia estate. By the late 1950s, the design had become a familiar part of American coinage, circulating widely and becoming a common sight in everyday commerce. But as with many coins, what sets certain years apart are not always the design changes but rather the subtle variations, errors, and conditions that make a coin extraordinary. In 1958, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 17 million nickels, while the Denver Mint struck more than 168 million, a massive total that flooded circulation. With such high numbers, it is easy to assume that no coin from this year could be particularly rare or valuable. Yet that assumption is exactly what keeps collectors on their toes, because rarity often hides in the details. Most 1958 nickels are common in circulated condition, showing wear and tear from decades of use. However, coins that were never circulated, that survived in pristine mint state condition, can be extremely rare, especially at the highest grades. It is these coins, flawless or nearly flawless, that can reach values unimaginable for a denomination worth only 5 cents. One of the most important aspects that make the 1958 nickel so fascinating is the strike quality. Nickels from this period are notoriously difficult to find with sharp, well-defined details. The design of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello required precise striking to capture all the details, and many coins left the mint with soft features. Full steps on Monticello, the sharp, distinct lines of the steps leading up to Jefferson's home, are particularly rare. Collectors prize these coins, labeling them as FS or full steps nickels. Finding a 1958 nickel with full steps in mint condition is one of the greatest challenges for Jefferson nickel collectors, and it is exactly these coins that drive the price into the tens of thousands. To understand why, one must appreciate just how rare such coins are. Out of the hundreds of millions minted, only a fraction survived without being used in circulation. Of that fraction, only a tiny percentage had sharp strikes with full-step details. And of those, even fewer have been preserved carefully enough to avoid scratches, contact marks, or discoloration. When all of these factors align, the result is a coin that collectors will compete fiercely to acquire. That fierce competition is what has driven auction prices of some 1958 nickels into the range of $65,000 to $138,000, a level almost unthinkable for a nickel. Another element that keeps collectors fascinated is the broader history of the Jefferson nickel series. By 1958, the coin had been in production for 2 decades, and while the design had not changed, the production quality varied from year to year. Some years produced coins with excellent detail, while others, like 1958, presented significant challenges in terms of sharpness and strike. This variability makes each year unique for collectors, and for those determined to build a set of full-step nickels, the 1958 issue is one of the toughest keys to the series. Error coins from 1958 also add intrigue and value. Minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet occasionally surface, and these errors can drastically increase a coin's worth. Collectors are always searching for these mistakes, as they represent a rare glimpse into the minting process and create highly sought-after oddities that stand apart from regular issues. A 1958 nickel with a dramatic error, especially one preserved in high grade, can become a prized possession worth thousands. The cultural context of 1958 adds another layer of fascination. The United States was in the midst of the post-war boom, with growing prosperity, technological advances, and social change on the horizon. Nickels from this year circulated in a time when a gallon of gas cost about 25 cents, a loaf of bread was 20 cents, and the American economy was flourishing. Holding a 1958 nickel is like holding a piece of that era, a reminder of a time when coins carried more weight in everyday life, not just in economic terms but as symbols of a nation's progress. Stories of discovery further elevate the allure of the 1958 nickel. Imagine a collector flipping through rolls of nickels, purchased from a bank, only to stumble upon a pristine full steps example. Or a family opening an old jar of coins tucked away for decades, not realizing that one of those nickels could be worth more than a luxury car. These stories inspire collectors to keep searching, reminding them that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. It is this sense of possibility, the idea that a small piece of change can hold immense value, that keeps the hobby alive. Auction houses have played a pivotal role in cementing the reputation of the 1958 nickel. Records show that when a high-grade example comes to market, collectors are willing to push bidding to extraordinary heights. In some cases, the coin's price jumps from a few thousand to tens of thousands within minutes, as determined bidders compete for ownership. These auctions highlight the emotional power of rare coins, where history, rarity, and passion collide to create unforgettable moments. The knowledge that some of these nickels have sold for $65,000 to $138,000 adds a layer of excitement and possibility to every collector's search. The Jefferson nickel series has long been a favorite among numismatists, partly because it offers both accessibility and challenge. Anyone can begin collecting Jefferson nickels from circulation or coin shops, building a set year by year. But for those who crave the thrill of the hunt, coins like the 1958 Full Steps nickel represent the pinnacle of achievement. It is a series where beginners and experts alike can participate, but only the most dedicated and fortunate collectors can secure the rarest and most valuable pieces. For many collectors, the 1958 nickel is more than just a coin. It is a story of survival against the odds, a reminder of the importance of preservation, and a symbol of hidden value waiting to be uncovered. It teaches us that rarity is not always about how many coins were made, but about how many have endured in exceptional condition. It reminds us that history is written not just in books, but also in the smallest of artifacts, like a nickel that has outlasted its era to become a treasure of immense worth. The allure of the 1958 nickel continues to grow as collectors share their stories, auction houses announce record sales, and the public becomes more aware of the extraordinary values that can hide in everyday objects. Each time a remarkable example surfaces, it reignites the passion for coin collecting and reminds us of the power of these small pieces of metal to capture both history and imagination. The story of the 1958 5-cent coin is a reminder that hidden treasures are often overlooked. A coin minted in the millions, meant for nothing more than everyday transactions, can become one of the rarest and most valuable collectibles in the numismatic world. The fact that some of these coins are valued between $65,000 and $138,000 makes them extraordinary. It is a transformation that speaks to the power of rarity, condition, and history, and it ensures that the 1958 nickel will forever hold a special place in the hearts of collectors. The 2005 cents coin, better known to most as the Jefferson nickel, is one of those pieces of modern American currency that at first glance might not look special at all. Millions were produced, it's still familiar in circulation, and countless people have handled it without a second thought. Yet beneath its ordinary surface lies a world of rarity, mystery, and immense value that has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. What makes this coin so fascinating is not just its design or its role in American coinage, but the fact that certain examples from the year 2000 have shocked collectors and sold for staggering amounts, ranging from $48,000 to as high as $122,000. How can something so small and so common hold such extraordinary value? That's where the story of the 2000 nickel becomes unforgettable. On the obverse, the coin carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed decades earlier by sculptor Felix Schlag. Jefferson had been the face of the nickel since 1938, and by the year 2000, his likeness was deeply ingrained in American coinage. His stern profile and the dignified lettering around it represent continuity, stability, and the importance of one of America's founding fathers. Flip the coin to the reverse and you see the image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. Its neoclassical columns and domed roof create a sense of both history and architecture that gives the nickel more than just monetary value. It carries meaning. By 2000, the U.S. Mint was already preparing for big changes in the Jefferson nickel design, which would eventually come in the mid-2000s with the Westward Journey Series. But the coins minted in the year 2000 still carried the long-standing design that had endured for over 6 decades, making them one of the last chapters in the classic Jefferson Monticello era. While the composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, was nothing out of the ordinary, what made the difference in value for some coins was how they were struck, how they were preserved, and sometimes how errors snuck into the minting process. Mint errors are where things start to get exciting. In 2000, millions of nickels were produced across different U.S. mint facilities. With such huge volumes, the possibility of mistakes was inevitable, and for collectors, those mistakes are where fortune lies. Some nickels from that year show dramatic off-center strikes, where the design is shifted so far that part of the coin is blank. These are highly collectible, especially when the date is still visible. Other examples are double strikes, where the coin was struck more than once by the minting press, leaving ghostly overlapping images of Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello design. Perhaps the most astonishing and valuable errors are wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a nickel that was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for a penny or a dime. Such coins are lighter or the wrong color, immediately standing out as strange, and they fetch enormous prices at auctions because of their rarity. There are also transitional errors, die cracks, and misaligned strikes from the 2000 series that have thrilled collectors lucky enough to find them. Each unique flaw tells a story about how even the most precise machinery can sometimes create one-of-a-kind treasures. Of course, error coins aren't the only reason the 2000 nickel can be valuable. Condition plays a huge role. Coins that went into circulation quickly collected scratches, dings, and wear, diminishing their appeal. But those preserved in pristine condition, whether pulled directly from mint sets or carefully stored right from the start, can earn high mint state grades from grading services. A 2000 nickel graded MS 67 or higher is extremely rare, and rarity combined with condition is the perfect recipe for high prices. The stories from collectors and auction houses only add to the intrigue. At one auction, a spectacular 2000 nickel with a dramatic off-center strike caught bidders off guard. While most expected the coin to sell for a few $100s, the bidding war escalated quickly, and the final hammer price soared well into the tens of thousands. Another example involved a nickel struck on a foreign planchet, a mix-up that left the coin unusually thin and lightweight. When it appeared at auction, seasoned collectors knew they were looking at something once in a lifetime. The bids climbed higher and higher until the coin sold for over $70,000, showing just how much passion and money collectors are willing to put into securing such rarities. And in some of the most astonishing cases, examples from the year 2000 have been valued between $48,000 and $122,000, proving that even a coin as unassuming as a nickel can change someone's fortune. The year 2000 holds a certain cultural fascination as well. It was the dawn of a new millennium, a time of anticipation and change. People saved coins and other memorabilia from that year, believing they might become collectibles simply because of the date. For the nickel, this added a layer of symbolism. Not only was it a workhorse coin of daily life, but it also represented the turning of the century. Collectors today sometimes see the 2000 nickel as a piece of that history, a reminder of where the nation stood at the start of a new era. Another factor that makes the 2000 nickel appealing is accessibility. While ancient coins or early American rarities may seem far removed from everyday life, the Jefferson nickel is still current, still familiar, still something anyone could potentially find in a jar of change. That possibility, that thrill of discovery, is what drives so many collectors. The idea that a coin worth $48,000, $85,000, or even up to $122,000 could be hiding in plain sight keeps people searching, checking their coins carefully, and hoping for that once-in-a-lifetime find out what's more. The Jefferson nickel series as a whole has always been popular with collectors because of its long history and the potential for varieties. The 2000 edition falls right before the redesign era, which adds to its historical interest. Collectors know that coins from transitional periods often gain special significance, and the 2000 nickel fits perfectly into that narrative. For newcomers to coin collecting, The story of the 2000 nickel is an invitation to start looking more closely. It shows that you don't need to chase after ancient treasures or ultra-rare gold pieces to get started. Sometimes, the most exciting discoveries can come from everyday coins. For experienced collectors, the thrill is in the hunt, the challenge of spotting that error or that condition rarity that others missed. For everyone, the lesson is the same. Coins are more than money. They are pieces of history, art, and chance all wrapped into one. The 2005 cents coin proves that value can emerge in surprising ways. It shows us that rarity can come from mistakes, from flawless preservation, or simply from the right coin surfacing at the right time. It reminds us that the world of numismatics is not just about collecting objects, but about collecting stories, stories of discovery, of auctions, of fortunes made and chances taken. And perhaps the most fascinating part is that coins like this might still be out there, waiting to be found. Somewhere, tucked away in a forgotten drawer or sitting unnoticed in circulation. Another rare 2000 nickel could be waiting for the right set of eyes. The next great discovery might come from someone who just takes the time to look a little closer. And when that happens, it could transform a simple 5-cent piece into a treasure worth $48,000 to $122,000, changing not only a collector's collection but perhaps their life as well.